We're at Devoxx Belgium 2018, and I've got with me Richard and Sadiq. Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for coming along. I know you've got a session later about production profiling.
Absolutely, yeah.
Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so, I mean, probably worth talking about what profiling is. So, profiling is where you, if you've got a program that you want to get some performance information about, profiling is where you stop that program for minute amounts of time and you gather what it's actually doing, right? So what memory is it consuming, what CPU is it using, where is it in the program? And you do that over a long enough period of time and you can kind of build up this picture of the performance of the program. And that's in contrast to things like metrics, which are like how much CPU am I using, how much RAM on the system is available, that kind of thing, or things like instrumentation, where you would say time things around methods.
So loads of people do profiling already, but very few people do it in production at the moment. It's quite an uncommon thing to be doing in production.
Why is that?
Well, the biggest problem that we come up against, and one of the things that we try to do with our talk, is that we try and challenge this kind of misconception that you can't profile in production because it's too slow. Because the previous generation of profilers tended to come quite a high overhead, anywhere from 20 to multiple kind of overhead. And so you couldn't ever hook them up to your servers that were running production code and that real users were using because it was just too slow. And what we go over in our talk is that actually the newer generation of profilers have such low overhead, like less than a few %, that you can just leave them running in production all the time.
So why should people do it though?
Well, if you've got a production system, you really want to make sure that you solve any performance problems and improve your performance there, right? Keeps your customers happy, it reduces your infrastructure costs, it lets you scale out your business really effectively. So if you want to do that, you need to understand what those performance problems are. And a very ineffective but common approach is to try and replicate production performance problems in a development environment, load testing, synthetic workloads. It's possible to do, but it's really, really hard to do right. There's a few people who are absolute world-class specialists at it. Most people aren't. Very hard to do right. And if you get it wrong, you'll end up finding the wrong kind of bottleneck or looking at the wrong place in your application. So that means A, you don't fix the problem, and B, you waste a lot of time kind of scrambling around trying to find out where the real problem is. So that's why you want to do these kind of measuring things, especially production profiling on a production system, real hardware, real users, real workload, and solve the real problem, which rather than the synthetic problem, which is what your synthetic workload on developer hardware will get you to.
What we tend to find when people do this is that people are not actually aware of what their code is doing in production. So we have some users, they put our product, which is a profiler, into production, and what they discovered is that a bunch of these tests that they were doing on every request, so a kind of should we service this request or not, actually they discovered that the order in which they were doing them didn't match how expensive they were. Their intuitive understanding of how expensive they were in development didn't actually match what was actually happening in production. And all they did is they reorganized those kind of filters, and their production load kind of dropped significantly. So it's those kind of benefits where you actually understand finally what your code is doing in production.
And that was just a very simple change for them as well, just changing a few lines of code, massive improvement. Yeah. And it's easy to spot when you've got that visibility and insight into your production system, but impossible otherwise.
Yeah. So obviously people can come to the session, they can watch it on YouTube post-event if they want to learn more. Are there other resources we can point them at as well if they want to find out?
So Sadiq and I run a company, Opsian, that sells this product. We've got a website, opsian.com. It has a blog with some information more about production profiling in general. We love people to use our product, but we're happy for them to be doing production profiling in general. Like, we think it'll help you even if you use other tooling as well. So there's a lot of information on there that's really useful for people.
Great stuff. Thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of the stay in Belgium.
Thank you.
Cheers.